Hello class. In this lesson we're going to learn how to find measurements using what we know about angles. So here we have 3 examples. I'd like you to take a minute to try to solve each of them and think about which properties you use. So pause the video, and when you come back I'll reveal the answers for you. So in letter A, these are vertical angles. These are all the cheats. Vertical angles, so they have the same measurements. Here we have supplementary angles, so they add up to 180. And here they're at a point, so they add up to 360. Now notice that each answer doesn't have degrees. That's because each variable already has degrees in the diagram. So if you include degrees here, that would mean 36 degrees when substituted, and that doesn't make much sense. So be careful with your units. And so our first term is adjacent angles. That basically just means that they're angles that are next to each other. So they share a vertex, they share a side, and they don't overlap. Supplementary angles up to 180 degrees, and complementary 90 degrees. So in this example, they tell us that AD is a segment. So that means it's has 180 degrees in it. So if we added up 72, and this angle here, which is a right angle, so it measures 90, and DCE is this angle over here, that'll give us 180. So one way to do that, 180 minus 90 minus 72. Gives us 18 degrees. Now notice in this case, I used degrees in the answer because we don't have x degrees already in the picture. We're talking about its measurement, and so the measure of the angle is in degrees. The measure of the angles around a point, add up to 360. So think about it, you're just going around in a full circle here. And so very similar to figure out what the measurement of angle HKI is, subtract from 360 this time. And this time we get 80 degrees. And here we have vertical angles. They have the same measure. They're formed when you have 2 segments or rays or lines crossing. And so here, this 52, that's going to be the same as this one. Oh, and they did not label the angles for us. Let me do that for you. All right, so I labeled the necessary points. And so we're talking about this angle over here, TRV. That's going to be 52 as well. So in this example, once again, I want you to try them. There's 5 different measurements. See if you can figure out what each of them is, and then I will reveal the answers for you. So angle A is going to measure 35 because they add up to 180. They're supplementary. B is 140 because B and 40 are supplementary, so they add up to 180. C is going to be 40 because that's vertical with the 40 over here. Or we could have said supplementary or linear pair with B, that's fine. And D, 140. You can either say since it's vertical with B, that's 140, or because you have supplementary angles. And E, now, E is a little bit trickier. This arrow means that you're going all the way around. So you're looking at that big angle that's bigger than 180 degrees. So you know that this piece, the straight part, the straight angle is 180 degrees. And so you got to add or subtract, depending on how you're going to solve it. But you're going to add 238. So you either do 360 minus 122 minus 180. Or you could have done something like 180 minus 122 and added that piece to 180. Either way is fine. So now a few more examples. Let's see. I want you to think about how to solve them, and we'll go through it. So I'm going to take a moment to pause for each example and then see how I did it. And there's more than one way to do these problems. So just because you did it a different way than I did doesn't mean you did it wrong. If you got the same answer, you probably did it a correct method. I say probably because sometimes you can make 2 mistakes which cancel each other out. So you got to be careful there. So to find x, let's see, tell us A, B, and C, D are line segments. So it looks like, to me, the easiest way to find x would be to look at this segment, because we have x degrees and 47 degrees. That's got to be 180. Right, those are supplementary. And so you get 133 for x. To find y, the way I saw is, hey, this is 90 degrees. And I know that this right here is a segment, so that has 180 degrees. So this half must be 90. So y plus 47 is 90. They're complementary. And so you get 43. That's one way to do it. So let's see, we did angle addition and linear pairs. I also use complementary angles. So just because you don't do it the same way the book says doesn't mean it's wrong. Over here, well, they told us that this is a segment, and we have 3 angles on it, and that's fine. These 3 will add up to 180. So combine like terms, subtract 24 from both sides, divide by 2, you get 78. And try this one. This one, a little bit more algebra involved, but nothing you can't handle. So to figure out what x is, what I did first was I said, hey, that's a straight line segment, so those 2 add up to 180. Combine the terms, subtract 20 from both sides, divide by 8. There we go. And then to find y, I said, well, if I add y with 2x minus 5, that's going to be the same as 5x plus 45. Now, that might not look immediately obvious, but let's see what we have. So these 2 really are vertical angles. This angle is vertical. Well, maybe you're going to use the term vertical, but you're using that property of vertical angles because if you put these 2 together, if you add them together, you do have a vertical angle. So simplify, subtract 25 from both sides, and you get 110. Now, here are some properties that you should have learned in previous grades. I know it's just tiny, it's hard to see, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this file, this document, on Google Classroom so you can refer to it. I would like you to look over it because you're responsible for knowing all of these properties. These should all be from years past. So if you want to copy them in your notes, that's fine. It's a lot, so you might want to just write down what you find important. But like I said, I will post the document with these facts in Google Classroom. So in this lesson, we learned about finding unknown angle measurements. Thanks for watching this video.